Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure. If you don't say we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
It's a great morning. Well, let's be clear, it's a Tuesday morning, and it's a delight to welcome you to Global Morning here on Global Television. I'm Uyi Agmofwegbe, and well, that opportunity to discuss big issues about our country and our people, of course, the government as well, is what is in front of us, and we hope to make the most of it. My colleague Queen Agaba will pop up from somewhere shortly. Distant time, but just to let you know that we feel honored knowing that you're spending the next day or so hours with us here on the program today. For a country like Nigeria that continues to evolve, it's only natural that conversations will never end, particularly those that are referred to as developing stories, including the issue around tariff hike, and then we have issues around whether or not we should ban 60,000 litre capacity fuel tankers. What's more, well, there's a rancor in Lagos State now on account of the assembly tussle. Should Miranda remain the speaker? Should Obasa be reinstated? That conversation is still going. Still ongoing. Yesterday, for example, there was the DSS said to have invaded the assembly, and then, of course, somehow some members of the House were able to sneak in the embattled speaker, as she has now become, for obvious reasons. But for people who have been following developments in Lagos State since 1999, particularly from purely a legislative standpoint, it probably has never been this chaotic. They looked at it from when the current president, President Tinubu was the state's governor for 8 years. Of course, Fashola took over for another 8 years. Ambode came, did one term, and now you have Babajide Sanwo-Olu. They say, look, it has never been this crazy at the Lagos State House of Assembly. We're now hearing that there are calls for the impeached speaker, who, by the way, is still a member of the House, to be reinstated. But it will appear the entire, House, all the members combined, would rather have it a different way. That is to have Right Honorable Miranda remain as the Speaker of the House. So who is pushing whose interest? And what should the situation be like? What are some specifics that must be done to resolve this kind of issue? Of course, Lagos State is not the first State House of Assembly to experience this kind of tussle. We've seen it from one state to another, end to end in this country, whether it's in Delta, it's in Edo. We've seen speakers removed multiple times in 1 week across party lines. So we've seen all of those politics. But there are those who say that we need to now begin to use this as a basis to discuss the independence of the legislature, whether you're talking about the local, state, or federal level. Because they say that for the state, for instance, as we have in Lagos now, you can't remove the influence, regardless of the measure of it, of the executive in cases like this. But, well, the Lagos State governor didn't waste time just when this whole thing started to say, look, we are staying clear, of this whole saga, all of this controversy that's going on, because we're minding our business, we're driving development in the states. We're not interested in what the House is doing. The House has its own leadership that is, well, give or take, independent. So whatever they're doing there is their call, and they should also be responsible for it the whole time. But what are the points that should stick out for Nigerians beyond politics, as we now see? Will Obasa be reinstated? And what must happen for that to come through? Is that the way to go? If Right Honorable Miranda remains, what will be the implications? For those who are throwing their weight 100% behind her, what is the motivation? What is their interest? And in the final analysis, how does this benefit the everyday Lagosian who is jumping from one downfall to the other, from mainland to island, and vice versa? Well, a while ago I said Queen Agaba will pop out from somewhere, and this is that pop moment.
Good morning. It's interesting to follow this conversation. You know what's happening in
Lagos.
In Lagos. And I wouldn't say it's quite sad, because we've seen this over and over happening, various across states. And what makes Lagos State peculiar? That should be the
question, right?
At this point in time, what is the peculiarity
of Lagos State?
Because we have a female speaker this time. So people are saying, oh, it's all, a display of emotions and what have you and what have you not. But the big question is, I think we have gone past this level where we should be having these sort of fights, these sort of issues, this sort of back and forth as regards to legislative matters. But in all, I hope that we, get to that point where we're all level-headed concerning this case, and there's a resolve in the end. Final analysis.
It's interesting how in 2025 some of us will still be discussing the factor of a woman being the speaker, because I know, for example, in my state, Edo, there was a time they had a similar situation. For example, the speaker was removed. Some people say, well, the speaker was not removed, the speaker was toppled. Others say it was a coup. You know how politicians can quickly find these words. But interestingly, it was a woman who through the office of the speaker at the time, Right Honorable Elizabeth RTV, right, who we understand has even left the APC for the Labour Party, by the way. But the point is, I'm not sure people had as much issue with her being a woman as they were concerned about competence. Can you lead the house? Can you take the house from point A to point B? So if we're still having that sort of, if you like, shallow pedestrian conversation about whether the person is a man or woman, then it means we are just intentionally distracting ourselves, because we're at a point now where people have been worried for several years as to how till today Nigeria has not produced since 1999 an elected female governor. Right, the instances of her will be a deputy female governor who only is able to act when the governor is away, when the governor is indisposed, or like in the case of Anambra once, when you had an issue with Peter Obi, who then was the governor, was impeached. He was impeached and all that. So what the point here is this: we must think beyond the gender line, because that's one of the things that stick out for us here now. Because some people are also saying, well, these legislators and even the bulk of the Lagosians and Nigerians are taking side with Right Honorable Miranda because of the woman factor, so it's only natural to be empathetic. But you don't drive governance with empathy alone. There are several other critical factors that you need. But in all, the important thing is that Lagos State government, the House of Assembly in Lagos State must find a way to resolve this issue, because we understand Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa is not backing down anytime soon. And Queen Agaba, you know what they say about the fight between two elephants.
The ground suffers. I hope that the people of Lagos don't get to, suffer as a result of this back and forth and,
right.
National Assembly.
Several other issues popping up this morning. News coming through that Niger Republic is going to bar Nigerians with ECOWAS passports from entry. I like the look of your face. That look alone.
What are we talking about again?
Well, Niger Republic, right? So that look alone is a talking point in itself, because first of all, you're asking, is it another Niger Republic, or the one in our backyard, the one that has been called our brother, time and again, our sibling and all of that, the one where you can practically have one leg in Nigeria, have one leg in Niger Republic. You can be working, living in Nigeria, be working in Niger, and the other way around and things like that. So the question is this not an overkill? Is this not Niger Republic, pushing its luck, diplomatically speaking, so to say? But it just shows that the rift between Niger Republic and the rest of the sub-region, the ECOWAS bloc, as we know it, is still, if you like, waxing strong, because one would have thought by now we are beginning to talk about how to reconcile, not just for Niger, but Burkina Faso and Mali as well. But you see, geopolitics should be shouldn't be about strife, and bad blood, as they call it. It should not be at a point where, yes, Niger, like the other two countries I mentioned, may have a problem with ECOWAS, but why is it becoming more of a Nigerian problem? Is it because Nigeria has produced the chairman of the ECOWAS heads of government, or is it because Nigeria feels threatened by Nigeria, or is it because Nigeria wants to prove a point on account of the fact that it has now seen that in recent times Nigeria is beginning to diplomatically romance France? I mean, the questions are almost endless.
Yeah, we believe that Nigeria is not standing in solidarity
with them.
With them, as regards, since we have shared ties, shared boundaries,
Over time.
shared over time, and we're regarded as brothers. It could be one of those questions, but I don't think that that's enough to place a ban on Nigerians and their ECOWAS passport.
It's interesting, right?
It's interesting, and I really
All right. I don't know what the condition will be for Nigerians to be able to enter Niger Republic. To the best of my knowledge on the program this morning, Queen has not shared her plans of traveling to Niger with me just yet. But the interesting thing is, at best, she has an ECOWAS passport, which means under the circumstances, she's not allowed entry. So you may need to reconsider your plans now.
What do I do? What business transactions do we have with Niger?
Well, we do quite a lot with them. If you remember, even under former President Muhammadu Buhari, we were largely invested in driving oil pipeline, gas pipeline to Niger from Nigeria. There's a lot of intertrading going on between Nigerians and Nigerians. All right, so there's so much, and we've bonded over several decades, some people even say centuries. All right, so that's not just something we're going to reverse overnight on account of ECOWAS passport. It's interesting, right?
It's interesting.
Okay, so while you reconsider your plans to travel to Niger, let's take a quick break at this point. Everyone, when we return, we'll look at big headlines from across our national dailies for you.
is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Well, many thanks for staying with us. It's now time for us to turn to the front pages of our national dailies for you. And this morning we're beginning with the Blueprint newspaper. What are the big stories? The big headline says, the big headline on the front page of the Blueprint says, violence erupts in Osun, ex-council chair and 4 others killed. An aftermath of appeal. We also have, the writer says, PDP, APC lay claim to local government and reps caucus seeks Tinubu's intervention. APC alleges SSG-led attack. Adeleke, PDP fault claim. We'll deal with culprits, says the police. And we also have NNPC acquires 15% equity stake in Stars CNG station. Rider says company's petrol of high quality, according to Petron. We also have both the nameplates. Saudi Arabia donates 100 tons of dates as humanitarian assistance. Lagos Assembly crisis escalates. 36 members back Miranda. Cardoso urges stronger economic ties with Middle East. Sports 2025 ITTF African Cup. Aruna Meshev to defend titles in Tunisia. We will employ technology to realize 2025 revenue target, according to the federal government. Rider says 14 trillion naira debt servicing too. And lastly, we have Nigeria's inflation to ease amid CPI rebasing and macroeconomic adjustment. Okay, I beg your pardon, we still have some stories here. Suspected headers invade Benue communities, kills 19. Quite sad. I think we had this same headers attack last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yes, last week actually.
And it's becoming a recurring incident. It's quite sad. Nelfund opens portal for 2024 and 2025 student loan application. Those are the stories we have on the blueprint. You look like you wanted to react.
Yeah, sure. I think that's apparently strike a chord, and it's natural to feel that way. Two things: first, Benue, and then some of you heard, Benue again. Like you mentioned last week, we heard about this similar incident, and you're wondering, is it that there are things we're not doing well, or there are things we're just not doing at all? Or is it impossible to ward off these criminal elements who just come to take lives? I mean, 19 lives are no joke, right? So even if you say it's one person from 19 different families, so where does that leave those families? Is this the end? What more should be done, whether by the state government or by the military, to ensure that this becomes the thing of the past? Of course, there's the argument that, well, it's not only Benue, resources are stretched, defense, military authorities are inundated, they are overwhelmed, blah, blah, blah. But there are those who believe that Nigerian defense and military authorities are not overwhelmed. So what exactly is happening? Recently, we saw immediate past Governor Samuel Ortom, all right, having his own kind of back and forth with the incumbent governor, Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia, about whose tenure, whose administration is worse, security-wise. I mean, that conversation is rock bottom. That conversation is I don't want to say it's ill-timed, it's baseless, and it's naive to have that kind of conversation in a state where we are losing number of the people whose lives are taken every day. I mean, as if life suddenly doesn't mean anything anymore, and you have two politicians arguing back and forth, saying that it was worse in your time, no, my time was better, yours is worse, and so on and so forth. In any case, who is going to be doing the data science to determine whose time was worse? Is that the conversation we should be having? The question is, has it ended? Are we making effort? Are we bringing sincerity or purpose to address these issues? Well, let's not get infuriated this morning in the program, but it is well. So let's turn to the Punch, right? Yeah. So go to the Punch right now to look at some headlines for you as well. We'll begin with the ones above the nameplates of the Punch newspaper. Top left, with a picture of Governor Ademola Adeleke of Osun State here, says Osun mayhem. Ex-council chair, 6 others shot dead as Adeleke Oyetola supporters were. Some reports this morning says it's actually an ex-council chairman and 4 persons, but the Punch is reporting that it's an ex-council chairman and 6. But the important thing is that lives have been lost. And again, this has to do with supporters of 2 politicians, a former governor and an incumbent governor. Well, we hope these people who fight for politicians, for individuals whose interest is paramount to them, will also bring that same energy to fight for the overall good of their states, because this is an obvious manifestation of narrow-mindedness, all right? Okay, so there's a picture here of Chief Adelabu, Minister of Power, which says FG plans 2.3 trillion naira electricity subsidy in 2025. And then adjacent the name mast is a picture of the governor of Kwara States. States project 3 trillion naira tax after reform bill's passage. And the Star headline reads, Chaos Crisis in Lagos. 3 headlines: DSS lawmakers bicker over daylight assembly invasion. Miranda refuses to resign, Obasa plus return. GSC to meet Tinubu, Sanwo-Olu security change. You know, this is interesting. The Governor's Advisory Council. You're wondering how is that their business when you're dealing with an issue that is purely legislative in Lagos State. But we understand that the GSC is made up of past and 7 governors, right, of Lagos State, and then former speakers of the State House of Assembly and all of that. Incidentally, the current president of the country happens to have been a former governor in Lagos. So let's hope they find a way to resolve this. Yes, in Broglio at the Lagos State House of Assembly. AU endorses Nigeria as after digital trade champion. That's the Africa Free Trade area. All right. AGF bars police from parading suspects. They've been barred severally. I mean, I grew up to see police parading suspects. People have said, lawyers have spoken. We've seen past attorneys general in this country speak against it to say you can't parade suspects, because once you parade them, what you're doing is you're doing many things wrongly. The first is you're already deciding on their case. You're becoming a judge and a jury in your own case. Yours is to do investigation. The second is you even inadvertently, sometimes intentionally, compromise evidence, because you already paraded them and said that this one was found as a one-chance driver. It was caught at Wuse, it was caught at Lube. So what happens?
What happens? Big question.
Right. So, well, we continue with the headlines from the Punch for you this morning. Let's see three more at the foot of it. It says, controversial singer Portable declared wanted for assaulting Ogun officials. He has his picture there, wanted. Ex-Skybank chair Ayeni rejects ex-mistresses. There was one time it was fraud allegations against Mr. Ayeni. Now it is a paternity issue. All right. Those are the...
Let's react to the Portable story.
Hopefully your contribution will be possible.
I'll try to make it as possible as possible.
Right.
But I don't know the people who are still, inviting or bringing in Portable. There was a time last year, I think, a particular bank or corporate organization had Portable as their guest artist to perform for their, I think it was the Chamber MBA. Okay. I think that's the most disappointing and devastating.
You mean the Nigerian Bar Association?
Yes, lawyers, professionals.
Maybe they were having a party as part of their conference.
Exactly. And, with all of the well-educated people in all of their, regalias and all of that, and then Portable happens to be serenading the place with his madness as the guest artist. Now, Portable has proven over time that, it's obvious, it's evident. His character is questionable. What are we talking about questionable here? He has proven time and time again how he's a nuisance to society. Constant disobedience to the rule of law, to officials, public officials, assault, you see how he talks down on his wives, threatens to beat them. There was a time it was in the news that, he hit one of the wives or so, so he's abusive in nature, and he's just, time and time again, he has been seen harassing police officers, harassing, and now he's in the news again for whether assaulting or harassing Ogun officials or thereabout. So I just think that it's high time we stop promoting Portable and his nuisances. It's cruise initially, it's all cruise initially until it's beginning to take a toll and it's affecting public officials, public servants, and who knows, it could be anybody. So we should stop promoting the character of Portable. There's a saying that everybody has their audience, I don't know whose Portable audience is, but Portable does not represent anything that should be promoted, particularly to the young people. For all I know, he has time and time again projected rebellion and a sort of rebellious attitude. I don't like the fact that this is in the news, that and now he's declared wanted for whatever it is he has done. So we should be cautious. This is just me saying that Portable is a case study here, but whoever we choose to promote, let us look at the trajectory of that person. Let us look at the character of
where they coming from,
so that at the end of the day we don't regret promoting people who will now begin to become a thorn in the flesh of Nigeria as well.
I hope somebody doesn't wake up one day and tell us that Portable is a human rights activist.
Anything is possible.
Right. All right, let's turn to the Nation newspaper now for you.
Well, on the front page of the Nation newspaper, big story we have: inflation drops to 24.48% in expected NBS January figures. NBS January figures. Rider says enhanced digital methodologies in line with global standards adopted. We also have above the nameplate, Lagos gets 8 CPs in 7 years. Moshood replaces Ishaka. We also have investors scramble for Nigeria's assets. Economy peaks on liquidity. CEOs confident in economy. DSS presence at Lagos Assembly raises dust. Ogun promises IPP in 8 weeks. Mayhem in Osun over control of councils. Many killed and injured. Governor shots secretariat. We also have, lastly, on the Nation newspaper, not lastly, before the last story, Nelford to terminate loan for dropout. And then we have AU endorses Nigeria as AFCFTA digital trade champion. You find that story on page 25 of the Nation newspaper. These are the stories we have on the front page of the Nation newspaper.
Our next point of call, everyone, will be the Guardian newspaper this morning. Quite interesting here. It says Lagos Assembly crisis worsens, reveals deeper cracks in state's power dynamics. Read up all of those details on page 6 of today's issue of the Guardian newspaper. One with a picture of Barrister Aburi the National Chairman of the Labour Party. Says, some say factional chairman. Labour Party denies zoning 2027 presidential ticket, refutes Igbo presidency claims. Okay, what's more? Says power outage, UCH resident doctors embark on indefinite strike. Find details on page 2 of the Guardian newspaper. Nigerians show approval of Tinubu's performance via defection to APC. MAN, that's Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, decries rising cost of alternative energy over regulation policy inconsistencies. Labour lawmakers, Obi react as NAFDAC seals 3,000 Lagos shops. At the foot of the paper, over 20,000 communities without electricity nationwide, says REA. That's talking about Rural Electrification Agency. Those details are on page 29 of the Guardian newspaper. All right, that's what we'll leave you with the Guardian newspaper now.
Well, let's turn to other papers for you. This time we have the Nigerian News Direct. Big story says speakership battle, showdown in Lagos Assembly as DSS clashes with lawmakers, seals Speaker Deputy Office. And we also have Rider says 36 lawmakers pass vote of confidence in Speaker as Assembly adjourns plenary indefinite. DSS claims invitation by acting clerk denies presidency interference. Stop interfering in state matters. Focus on bringing Nigeria out of mess. Article tells Tinubu. Above the nameplate, we have Abiodun to commission first phase of 100 megawatt power plant in Ogun. And in Osun, we have 5 persons killed over local government control battle between APC and PDP. I'm sure these people, they were killed are party faithfuls. Stay away from local government secretariats, Adeleke tells residents. AU endorses Nigeria as AFCFTA digital trade champion. HES Energies convenes industry leaders to drive Nigeria's oil production growth. Well, these are the stories we have on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. We have one more story. Alleged $340,000 fraud. Court orders Mercy Chinwo's ex-manager to appear in court. And we'll take us to the final story, which is the Daily Trust newspaper for you.
All right, let's take a look at the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. We'll begin with the star headline for you. It says a Saudi firm threatens to sue Hajj Commission over contract breach. What's more do we have above that star headline? Amotekun sends back 114 northerners from Ondo. Despite court ban, VIO returns to Abuja roads. I've seen them. I'm wondering, are they still back to their usual modus, or are they now only enforcing or without the fine they used to impose? I wouldn't know. Last night, on 2 occasions when I saw them, they were really not on the road. They passed by the roadside, but the question is, what exactly was the goal? Lagos Assembly adjourns indefinitely as moved to remove Speaker Hutchins. Let's corner of the paper, front page this morning. Manufacturing sector on its last breath. That's credited to the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Gunmen killed 19 in Benue. We brought you that headline earlier. Firm releases Africa's first feature film on AI. Osho LG crisis. Ex-council chair others killed. 2 riders accompany the headline. Delegation secretaries, we will fish out perpetrators. That's the Inspector General of Police there talking. Well, those are the papers we have for you this morning on the program. Hopefully you find out time to go get copies for yourself. But then to appear, we have one more, and Quinn will bring us those headlines on the Daily Times newspaper. Let's just run through the Daily Times quickly, everyone. On the front page of the Daily Times this morning, it says big one here. Show violence, hold APC responsible, PDP tells IGP, and the writer tells us, sacked chairman brandish court papers. And then above the name mask here, it tells us FCT begins e-ticketing for traffic offenders. And then when you take it down a little, no bandit can dare our village, Zamfara community boasts. 2027, ZLP denies zoning presidency to Southeast OB2. PDP youth leader knocks Wabara for commending Governor OT. Well, that's some in-house conflict, I'm sure, but it's all we have for you on the papers this morning, everyone. We're going to take a quick break at this point. When we return, we'll chit-chat a little, and that will lead us to the Global AM News at top of the hour. Do stay with us, everyone. Just before we lead you to the AM news, a couple of things we need to talk about today. First, we'll be looking at the issue of tariff hike, right? There is that issue. What has happened to tariff hike? We understand, I mean, Queen has mobile service uses both for calls and data, like many other Nigerians. And there are people now saying that I've noticed an increase in the way I get billed. And this morning, one of the papers is also reporting that some of the telecom subscribers have hiked their charges on data and calls, all right, which is expected. 50% is what the NCC had approved for these telecoms operators. But the NLC is not having any of that. The NLC is saying, look, you have to revert to status quo, go back to what it was, because this is one more layer of hardship for Nigerians. I spoke with someone yesterday who is going to be our guest, by the way, on the program this morning, and he said, look, this issue, we need to find some sense in it in such a way that if we allow the power distributors, right, to review their tariffs upward, and yes, we complain, but we didn't protest. We allowed it, and now we have bands A, B, C, and what have you, right? And they've done that multiple times in the last few years. Why is it that we're having a problem with a sector that has not done an upward review in over a decade? So he says, can we not be fair? Can we not bring some amount of equity to this conversation? In any case, he says the power distributors are even more critical than the ones who are in telecoms and all of that. But that perspective sounds a little radical for the everyday Nigerian, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. But in all of this, the NLC is fighting for Nigerians, the everyday Nigerians, so that, like you rightly said, that is, or like the NLC has put it, another layer of hardship for Nigerians. This tariff may not see, it might just be, just a little increase here and there and here and there. But it's another layer, take it or leave it, because services are going to increase as a result of this tariff. The prices of services are going to increase, and I use data, I use the internet, I buy airtime, I use these services, and I see how what I would normally get for a certain amount of money is now, and the data doesn't even last. I'm wondering why that is so. If the tariff has increased, I'm paying more, at least I should get value for these services. So I think it's another way to also put in check, the services of our telecom operators as well. Outside of the fact that the tariff has increased, which we are trying to checkmate, also the services should also be better. Well, we just hope for the best. So I want us to revert back to status quo, yes. But are we going to be, would that be fair for the operators, themselves? Would they be doing business with ease if they revert back to status quo? Well,
it's a bit dicey a conversation to have, because you have several businesses of different categories that rely on data, enterprise level data, to drive their own activities, provide services, push goods to people across this country. What happens to them? Of course, like you said, that extra item, so to speak, the difference between what the tariffs were and what they now are will land in front of the end consumer, which is already the case right now. So let's see how this pans out. But the question is the strike or the protest by the Nigerian Labour Congress not ill-fated? All right, will it yield any real results? Will the NCC reverse these? But I think there's some fairness in what the Labour is asking for. The Labour is saying that there should have been a wider consultation before we got to this point, not just something more like between the service providers and the NCC team. But again, we're not at the points where we were, debating, should we increase, should we not increase? We're got into a stage now where it's about, can we reverse what is already being effected? That's a challenge you have to deal with. But let's be very clear. The power sector is critical. Telecoms are also critical, because whether you like it or not, this is a service Nigerians have used for virtually 2.5 decades. So it's going to take an entire lifetime, maybe a whole generation, for you to, if you like, unculture them. Move them from that culture of using telephone. that sort of thing. Zimbabwe, for example, got GSM before Nigeria. All right. So imagine going to Zimbabwe and saying that, well, because of tariff. Another thing that Labour is saying is boycott the service. All right. Is that possible? Will Nigerians make that kind of sacrifice? Because it sounds hefty, a sacrifice. But then we watch and we want to have that conversation with you this morning. And there's a second conversation. We'd like to in on that as well, but that will be on the flip side of our Global AM News. Do stay with us, everyone.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to the Global AM News here on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital. I am Queen Agaba. President Bola Tinubu says establishing an Africa-led credit rating agency will reduce bias and provide a more accurate assessment of African economies, promoting fairness in global finance. Represented by Yusuf Tigar, Minister of Foreign Affairs, at the 38th Ordinary Session of Assembly of the African Union, Heads of State and Government in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Tinubu says global agencies often rate African economies unfairly, but independent ratings will address the issue and improve credibility. On December 19, 2024, the African Development Bank, AFDB, says African countries, including Nigeria, collaborated to establish a continental credit rating agency to counterbalance Western credit rating agencies' bias against the continent. The Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, has warned the Nigeria Labour Congress against its planned March 1st shutdown of telecommunication services in response to the recent 50% hike. The Private Telecommunications and Communications Senior Staff Association of Nigeria and the Association of Telecommunications Company of Nigeria similarly pushed back against NLC's planned boycott of telecom services and shutdown of telecom infrastructure, arguing that such actions are misguided and could harm the industry. The Corps, tasked with protecting critical national infrastructure, including telecommunications, expressed concerns over the potential risks the Nigeria Labour Congress action could pose to national security and public safety. The Minister of State for Defense, Dr. Bello Matawalle, has faulted the recent comment by former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Dr. Babachi Lawal, regarding the 2027 presidential ambitions of President Bola Tinubu. This is contained in a statement issued by the Director of Information and Public Relations of the Ministry of Defense, Henshaw Ogubike, in Abuja. Matawalle emphasized that President Tinubu has made commendable strides in governance and that Lawal and his associates will be surprised by the resounding support that he will receive from the North. Akwa Ibom State Governor Umo Eno has warned government appointees against indiscriminate issuance of press statements without clearance. The governor directed that henceforth clearance from the city to the state government information. Chief service held at the Uyo Archdiocesan headquarters of the Methodist Church Nigeria, Itiam Etoy Uyo, emphasized that only the Commissioner of Information and the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor are authorized to issue statements. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has uncovered 2 warehouses stocked with expired drugs. This was made known in a statement shared by the agency on X platform. Reports say some suspects managed to remove several cartons of expired but relabeled drugs before security reinforcements arrived. In a related operation at Umumeji, Umuochala, Osisioma local government area of Abia State, the agency seized 140 tons of expired drugs, excluding additional products confiscated from drug shops at the Ariaria International Market in the state. Edo State Governor Senator Monday Okpebholo has vowed to petition the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission over alleged financial mismanagement during the administration of his predecessor Godwin Obaseki. Okpebholo made this known while receiving the panel's report, which was submitted to him in Benin City. A report by an administrative panel of inquiry claimed that 96 billion naira was misappropriated during Obaseki's tenure. It was a moment of reflection and gratitude to God, as friends and well-wishers through Ajila in Apa local government area to commemorate the one-year memorial service of Elder Pius Oche Felicity Ndere reports that the event also witnessed the foundation laying ceremony of Pope Pius Oche Memorial Anglican Church at Apagila. Felicity Ndere reports for Global Television.
As the saying goes, a life well spent brings happy memories. So it is true for a life well lived. That is why people from all walks of life have gathered here at the family compound of Elder Pius Ogaba Oche for the first year memorial service in his honor.
The event, organized by his son, who is the Commissioner Public Complaints Commission in Benue State, James Oche, marks the renewal of their trust in Christ and a ceremony to express their profound gratitude to God for his continued guidance and protection since the passing of their father. It is in accordance with the Holy Scriptures that it pays to serve God that the foundation stone laying ceremony of Pope Pius Oche Memorial Anglican Church, Apa Aguila, was led.
I am very happy that Elder Oche and the children in particular are going to lay this foundation to bring light to this community so that they will have the gospel and save their lives.
Speakers, including Senator Abamoro, in their tribute, eulogized the memories of the deceased.
The best that they can do for their father is to leave his legacy, which they are trying to do. For the people of Aguila, Pagila, it is said that to whom much is given, much is expected. And I think this spirit of oneness, this spirit of unity that the children of Pauche are bringing to Apagila should be emulated by the people of Agila.
For the family, his constant commitment to peace, unity and truth will remain their guiding principle.
We are trying to build on our father's legacy. While he was alive, he was a God-loving man. He was a man that went extra mile to ensure that he preaches the gospel of Christ. And he felt that there's no better way to sustain his legacy than building on where he stopped.
My father loved God and he loves unity.
So he always encouraged us to read the Word of God. He always shared the Word of God. I remember he was dedicated to the gospel.
Pope Pius Oche was blessed with 8 children and 18 grandchildren. From Apa Aguila in Ado local government area of Benue State, Felicity Ndere reporting for Global TV News.
The Defense Headquarters has urged Nigerians to disregard what it called the malicious allegations and support that the armed forces' efforts to enhance national security and promote the welfare of servicemen and women. Director of Defense Information, Brigadier General Tuku Gusau, in a statement, faulted the allegations regarding Nigerian military's request for visas to attend the Invictus Game in Vancouver, Canada. He urged Nigerians to support the officers, men and women who sustained various degrees of injuries while protecting the nation. British Council Director of Global Network, Charlie Walker, and his team have visited Thetford to appreciate it for the privilege of partnership and cooperation enjoyed over the years. Charlie Walker, in a statement during the visit, said the idea of the partnership and cooperation is important to the British Council. Ramsey Enokagbo completes the story.
British Council has enjoyed a mutually beneficial cooperation with the Tertiary Education Trust Fund over the years. Charlie Walker said one of the major assignments of the British Council is to deepen and strengthen relationship between the United Kingdom and countries in which they work around the world, emphasizing that the UK's strategic partnership with Nigeria is of tremendous significance.
Today is to come to meet Executive Secretary Sir and to extend our thanks for the partnership and collaboration that we have enjoyed with the Tech Fund over the years, and to emphasise to you all how important that is to the British Council. The British Council's mission across the world is to deepen and strengthen relationships between the United Kingdom and those countries in which we work around the world, and none is more important to us than the relationship with Nigeria. And our work together extends opportunities to young people in Nigeria to benefit from education, and we hope to deepen the relationship with their counterparts.
The country director, British Council Nigeria, Duncan McGowan, pointed at certain guidelines relevant to its operations and its partners.
On the implementation of the TNE guidelines, we have the Education World Forum, which takes place in London in May. So that's the UK government's wider education, annual education policy conference, and the invitation for that will be with you very, very soon. So my thanks again.
Thank you very much. The Executive Secretary of TED Fund, Architect Sonny Ochono, pledged support for partnering institutions.
And that is that TED Fund will be in a position to support the partner institutions here to ensure that they will meet the requirements and also provide all the resources that are required for them to mount this program, to host these programs, or to go into the collaboration with the British partners as the first step in implementing the guidelines that we are implementing. We are aware of the multiple dimensions of the transnational education and the various ways that these will be implemented. But the assurance we will give, and this is supported by the ministry, but also the Honourable Minister, and been following up on some progress in this dimension. The TED Fund will be there and will provide the right set funding to support those institutions. And we believe it's coming at the right time.
The visit by British Council has built confidence between both parties as they agree to continue nurture a lasting relationship. Ramsey Enoch Agbo reporting for Global TV News.
Members of the Lagos State House of Assembly has condemned the invasion of the Assembly complex by operatives of the Department of State Services and the Nigeria Police, describing it as a rape of democracy, an arbitration, and a national embarrassment. During a plenary session attended by 36 lawmakers, the legislators demanded an explanation from the Lagos State Directors of DSS regarding the reasons behind the security operatives' presence at the legislative complex. They also called on the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu to investigate the incidents and provide the public with a comprehensive briefing on the findings. The National Association of Nigerian Students has commended the Governor of the Southwest for their decision to establish a joint security network and food hubs to tackle insecurity and hunger. In a statement signed and released by the association's Ogun Joint Campus Committee Chairman Francis Gabriel, the student body described the resolution by the Southwest Governors Forum as not only commendable but also a catalyst for regional growth and development. At a meeting held in Lagos last week, the governors announced plans to set up a joint security network and food hubs in the region to foster socio-economic development. You're watching the live broadcast of the Global AM News here on Global Television. When the AM News returns, World Trade Director General challenges African leaders on foreign aid boycott. We'll bring you details of this as well as business and sports stories after the break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. In business, the Director General of World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, has called on African leaders to stop relying on foreign aid and focus on mobilizing domestic resources to attract investment and drive economic growth. Iweala emphasized that African leaders need a mindset shift, saying the continent is blessed with vast, untapped financial and natural resources that could drive sustainable development. While speaking on the sidelines of the African Union meeting in Ethiopia, the World Trade Organization's chief advised that foreign aid should be considered a thing of the past. A Kano State High Court issued an order of perpetual injunction restraining the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, from withholding funds from the Federation account to the 44 local governments of the state. The applicants are the chairman of NOLJ, Ibrahim Mod, Ibrahim Uba Shehu, Ibrahim Shehu Abubakar, Usman Isa, Sarki Alhaji Kurawa, and Malam Usman Imam. The applicants, through their counsel, Bashir Yusuf Mohammed, filed a motion ex parte dated November 1st, seeking the courts to restrain the respondents from withholding or delaying allowances or delaying allocations essential for local governance in the state. On the foreign scene, the European Commission says its top team would visit Ukraine on the 3rd anniversary of Russia's invasion in a show of support after Washington offered truce talks to Moscow. The visit next week by the Commission's President Ursula von der Leyen and other senior officials was announced as key European leaders prepared to hold talks in Paris to address Washington's shock policy shift. A Commission spokesman told the press conference in Brussels that next week, on the occasion of the 3rd anniversary of the war of aggression against Ukraine, there will be a college visit in the country. Detained Ugandan opposition figure Kizza Besigye on hunger strike for a week, has been returned to prison after being in a health clinic overnight. The 68-year-old was rushed to a private medical facility in a prison ambulance as his health was deteriorating. His lawyer, Elias Lukwago, wrote earlier on Facebook, Besigye was charged in a military court with illegal possessions of a firearm, threatening national security, as well as treachery, which carries the death sentence. He denies the accusations. British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer says he's ready and willing to put UK troops on the ground in Ukraine to help guarantee its security as part of a peace deal. The UK Prime Minister says securing a lasting peace in Ukraine is essential to deter Putin from further aggression in the future. Ahead of an emergency summit with European leaders in Paris on Monday, Sir Keir says the UK is prepared to contribute to security guarantees to Ukraine by putting its own troops on the ground if necessary. A building collapsed in the Egyptian capital killed 10 people and injured 8 more, with several others believed to be missing under the rubble. Ambulances were dispatched to the scene in the working-class neighborhood of Kedase, where civil defense teams searched for people thought to be missing under the rubble. A gas cylinder explosion reportedly caused the collapse, and a police investigation was said to be underway. In sports, Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola believes his team only have, in his words, a 1% chance of overcoming Real Madrid in the Champions League clash on Wednesday. City were defeated 3-2 at home in the first leg of the playoff clash last week, despite leading 2-1 for just 4 minutes left in the tie. Guardiola stated that the margin to win at the Bernabeu from that position, the percentage to go through, he says they arrive at 1% or will be minimal. Nigeria Leicester City midfielder Wilfred Ndidi has reportedly been added to the midfield shortlist of Spanish La Liga side Atletico Madrid as they look to sign a new defensive midfielder in the summer. Having failed to address the position last summer, the Rojiblancos have begun the hunt for a player to fill the void in their team, with the Nigerian emerging as a potential signing. The fact that club captain Koke Resurrection is coming towards the end of his career, coupled with the expected departure of Thomas Lemmer, means that it's important for a pivot to arrive at the Metropolitano before the start of the 2025 and 2026 season. Well, that's it on the Global AM News. Don't forget to follow us across all social media platforms using Global TV NG and other handles now for showing on your screen. I'm Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching and see you again. Global Morning continues.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
All right, thank you everyone for staying with us. We'll start talking quite earnestly in distant time. But like we hinted just before the global AM news kicked in a while ago. A second conversation this morning focuses on this theory about one-party state. There are those who have accused the ruling All Progressives Congress, that is the APC, of making frantic efforts to establish a one-party state in Nigeria, particularly under President Bola Tinubu. Of course, as expected, the APC officially and otherwise has continually and consistently denied that allegation. However, the question is that even a remote possibility in the first instance? And suppose, just for the purpose of this conversation, without conceding that it will happen, what really are the implications? What would the opposition be doing, for example, in a place like Nigeria? As of today, we have over a dozen political parties, registered political parties. Whether or not some of them have national spread or not is a different conversation altogether, but we know that if you were to go by the 2023 general election, you had at least 18 political parties that vied for different offices, right from the state houses of assembly all the way up to the presidency. But in all of these, for instance, what exactly should the opposition be doing? We're seeing alignments and realignments. We're seeing even people who are still card-carrying, banner-fighting members of the APC still having wrangling within the fold of the party. We are seeing those who are now referred to as being one leg in, one leg out, aligning or extending a handshake to people from other political parties. And those who are watching with keen interest are now saying, look, this is probably not connected with the 2027 general election. I know you're not vying for office. Last I checked, you were not a card-carrying member of any political party, for example. But I'm not sure you feel comfortable, imagining the possibility of a one-state party.
Yeah, one-party state, a one-party system. Yes, and I don't think it's something I want to imagine. But from all indications, it seems like this is what's happening. This is what it is already. We're already seeing people defecting from
other parties
to this party because it's a ruling party, and we all know the implications of a one-party system or a one-party, supposedly one-party state. There's most likely going to be more like a dictatorship kind of system where there's no a lot of things are going to be shoved down our throats. And
if we're to have a one-party state.
One-party states, yes, and we would not have, there'll be literally nothing that's going to be done about it. But having a one-party state, following what has been happening in other parties, we can say maybe it's justifiable with the frictions in the Labour Party and then the PDP, the inconsistencies in the PDP and all of that, and then people are at will or at liberty to move to a party that they could. There are reasons. Take for instance, we had seen Senator Ned Nwoko defect from the People's Party.
He said I'm not defected, I just resigned from the PDP.
But he has just resigned. But we all know that from all indications, when the person
he's going to move.
Definitely, ultimately going to move. And then he gave his reasons as to inconsistencies in some,
irreconcilable conflicts within the party.
This is a party has been in for decades, and then these sort of things, we see these sort of things happen and they move. But what are the indications, or what are the the indications is that he's ultimately going to move. Which
another party? We don't know exactly.
We don't know exactly, but we know that once there's a ruling, people are most likely to defect to the ruling party for favors, for just to be on the ruling side, and then and all of that. And if we have a one-party state or system, I don't foresee. Do I say I don't foresee it? I don't want us to be in that place where all we're talking about is already, because of how much we've had just two major parties. We know how much that has cost us. Two major political parties that, and then the frictions, the issues between these two political parties affect not the party members now or the Nigerians in general. How much more when we have just a one-party state or a one-party system? So you can imagine how that alone. So we need
a bit of competition.
Yeah, a bit of competition. We need competition. If not, we're talking about stepping up leadership. If there's no competition, I think I don't want to say mediocre leadership because but every society needs competition to thrive. Every sector needs competition to thrive. And talk more political parties. If we don't have political parties in their numbers, a bit of political parties, like a few political parties that we can, number. Thank God the LP is stepping up. But over time we've seen inconsistencies too.
On that front.
Frictions as well on that front. But we want to see more political parties step up to the rise up to the occasion so that we can have competition and leadership that would spur people to do better in terms of leadership, to do better in terms of their service to humanity, to the states, to Nigeria as a whole. If not, we're going to remain at a mediocre level. So we don't want a one-party system at all.
There are people who are now saying that the PDP in particular, because see, when people think about opposition in this day and age, Queen, the PDP appears to cross their mind first and foremost before any other party, whether it's the Labour, Abgas, LP, NPP, and the rest. Because let's say the PDP had been in power for 16 straight years before it lost seats in lost power, that is, in 2015, and then the APC came in, right? So they're saying that the PDP should have done better, should have done more in terms of driving strategic, meaningful, healthy opposition against the APC. And incidentally, for the most part, they say what they've heard from the PDP at best is we're going to capture power in 2019, that didn't happen. We're going to recapture power in 2023, that didn't happen. Now there's another recapture plan, so to speak, for 2027. Whether or not it's going to happen is for Nigerians to decide when the time comes. But in the meantime, there's also the concern that most of these political parties have not stayed on issues much. There has been more of personality attack. So it's either the chieftains of one party are attacking the president, who is, of course, of a different party, or those who are members of the cabinet of the president, or those who are, believed to be loyalists of the party, are also throwing stones or throwing shades at the members of the opposition parties and all of that. So the question is, how do we now drive issues in such a way that we spotlight the challenges while at the same time putting those in power, whether it's the president or governors from the ruling All Progressives Congress, on their tools to continue to deliver for Nigerians across this country?
I think that over time we've had this issue of party faithfuls being the ones that are projecting and doing all of those stuff, even to the detriment of the party or the people who are at the forefront of whether the All Progressives Congress or the People's Democratic Party. I think that we need to do a lot of sensitization. We need to do a lot of party faithfuls need to understand that those who are at the forefront, first of all, need to take charge and then talk to their subordinates, talk to those who, these party faithfuls, to ensure that there are no, because people will go out and overboard just to show that they're loyalists, and when we cannot talk about politics without talking about sycophants who would sing praises of the party regardless of whether or not the party is doing well, whether or not they're performing according to expectations. They will just but for all they know, all they care is that they're faithful to this party, regardless of whatsoever. They are faithful, they're party faithful. That's why they call for party faithfuls. And sadly, I don't know, I think that people need a lot of sensitization, reinduction, or reorientation, needs to be done. People need to learn so that we don't follow people blindly. We have the conscience to understand that beyond party, we're humans. beyond party system, beyond the various political parties. We are first of all Nigerians. And so whatever we are doing should not be to the detriment of the lives of Nigerians. And over time, you can take cues from most people who have, carried politics on their head, who have been party faithfuls to their last. How did they end up? Recently, we heard about, party members, party faithfuls, or loyalists who were recently killed in Osho State, if I'm not mistaken. We saw that in the papers. Yeah. And so we can be...
Over suspended local government chairman.
These issues, and I'm sure that these people were, agitating, for whether or not they are faithfuls, those who they are faithful to, and all of that. But let us do politics with wisdom. Let us do politics with the consciousness of being Nigerian and human first. Let us do politics. I don't know how much I can overemphasize this. Let us do politics outside of psychopathy, but is that possible? Let us do politics outside of selfishness, ourself first, myself first,
or sometimes myself alone.
Can we do politics outside of sentiment too? Can we be factual when we say we're party faithfuls? That's why I'm always, I always stand people who are quick to walk away from situations that, no longer serve the purpose it was initially meant to.
Right.
People who are bold enough to say, you know what, no matter
this is what I signed up for.
This is what I signed up for. No matter the amount of time I've been here, whether 15 years, whether since the inception of this party,
it's time to take a walk.
It's time to take a walk because of the inconsistencies in this party. It's time to take a walk, and whether or not it's left for me to make my decision. So I'm weighing the options. But what do we have today? We have very major political parties like what you see here. They say there's no difference between this party and this party. It's all it's all the same. But people who are able to walk away, look back, do critical assessment before getting into another party, and still make that decision again once they get in and they say, okay, you know what, when I entered, what I signed up for is not what I'm seeing, or there are inconsistencies. They're able to, but what they call those kind of people again, those people that defect from parties, what parties that
well, there are many names of them. They call them defectors. What else do they call them? They say they are cross-carpeting, and all that. Some people say, well, they are political prostitutes and stuff. But you see, the fact of the matter is this, Queen. I mean, this point you have made seals it all. Anything we do without conviction, without humanity, always falls short. Always will be faulty at some point for obvious reasons. Because again, most politicians in this part of the world are driven by this ideology of the end justifies the means. That's how I always tell you that. Some people, you'll be shocked, join political parties because they think when it's the next election cycle, our party will win. Even if I don't get a ticket to run for office, I would be appointed, I could get contracts, I'll have access to those in the corridor of power, blah, blah, blah. And then you go to the polls, your party loses, flat out. And then you tell yourself, well, I've done my part, I've done my beats, I can't do anything beyond this, because it's going to take another 4-year cycle for your party to go back to the polls, and you're not even sure at that whether or not your party will win. Which was the whole time, the only reason you're there is not to drive change, it's not to even strengthen the party over time. The idea is just to be there and see what you can get for yourself on account of the hope that the party, your party will win and things like that. In all of this, both from your standpoint and these points I just made now, it's very clear that patriotism is lacking. I mean, we live in a country, this is a no-brainer, where politicians, no matter their ranks, would rather put their political party before the country, even though we know that you only have a political party because you have a country. You can't have a political party in isolation. So how then do you put your loyalty to your party far ahead of your, what should ordinarily should be patriotism, you being patriotic to your country? Quite interesting. There are human angle issues now coming up. As of yesterday, that conversation was still very big. We're taking a quick break. We'll talk about those shortly after this break. Just a while ago, Queen Agaba and I gave you some insight into what some people now refer to as a one-party state that is, according to, by their own assessment, being created in Nigeria. Of course, even non-partisan individuals in this country have expressed concerns over the possibility of having a one-party state and what that would mean in practical terms for this country. But the question is, what are the factors, all right, that point towards the possibility or even the existence of a one-party state? Is Nigeria actually becoming a one-party state, or are there people who are up to some mischief now trying to sell that narrative to achieve some sinister objective? I'm joined by someone who is not only a stern supporter of President Bola Tinubu, but is also a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, the ruling APC, as well as a businessman, Chief Chibuna Ubawike. It's a pleasure to have you on the program today.
Thank you.
So let's begin with opposition. Your party had single sides of the coin, like they said. When you look at the way the ACN or even the AC played the role of opposition, of course, the incumbent president was Lagos State Governor back in those days, vis-a-vis the way the opposition parties now, whether it's the PDP, LP, NNPP, or what have you, are playing it. What would you say is basically the difference?
The difference is that there is an absence of constructive opposition. Constructive opposition. When ACN played opposition, they always provided, an alternative, a credible alternative to any policy they opposed. And when APC came to power, they provided a credible alternative or solution to policies they felt were not, for the betterment of Nigerians. But in this case, what we are witnessing now is abuses, insults, name calling. That is not opposition. So there is the absence of constructive opposition in our body politic today.
It still appears, Chief, that politicians, whether in your party or other parties, are yet to have a hang of what ideally an effective, healthy, forward-looking opposition should be. What should be those elements, essentially?
Like I said, just one basic element.
Constructive.
Be constructive. Not be we are opposing the government for positions and calling somebody name, abusing the person, insulting the person. That is not opposition. You go into your room, you manufacture lies and churn it out and you say it is opposition. No. When government gives up, for you to oppose, there is a policy or program of government that you feel is not for the good of the populace. So that policy or program will provide a better alternative to that policy or program of government. That this thing, you keep this cup here, that it should better be kept here. Look at what you say it should be kept here instead of keeping it here. That is what we call constructive opposition. But not talking, say lies, propaganda. Everything government says is not good in your eyes. Now bring that to your own. Let us see what we will do, how we should have done better. You are not doing it.
In a country where somebody sleeps a member of party A and wakes up a member of party B, for example, how do we have this kind of discussion about opposition that should be constructive?
In the partisan politics, especially the one we play in Nigeria, it is really anchored or predicated on interest.
Personal interest.
Interest. Either personal or that of your constituent. But what Nigerians, mostly play in Africa here, for example, is the interest of the individual politician, then the interest of the populace. When you feel your interest is not protected in a party, nothing prevents you from leaving that party and go to where you feel your interest will be protected. That is what is happening. And in Nigeria, we have not developed to the level of having ideological political parties, because all the political parties existing now evolve from either a PDP or NNPP or AD, AC, as the ABGA, as the case may be, all of them. And if you can recall, the late Chibolige said he drafted the constitution and manifestos of PDP, APP, AD, ABGA, as the case may be, in 1998, that gave birth to the political parties in 1999.
That looks like, blessed memory, Bola Ige was consulting for these political parties, because he couldn't have been members of all these these parties at the same time.
We are called upon by the head of state, to come and put up a constitution for the formation of political parties and the manifestos. And Chief Bolige came out to say he drafted the manifestos and the constitutions of those various parties. And the present political parties we have today evolve from those parties. So there is no distinction in terms of ideological difference. It is where your interest is. The party that you know will protect your interests better, that is where you will go.
So the idea of Walmart drafting multiple constitutions for several political parties, wasn't that an aberration?
It was because as at that time we are transiting from a military regime to a civilian rule, and they wouldn't want the military. We are determined to hand over to civilians, and they wouldn't want anything to rock the boat. So they wanted a cohesive political system that they would bequeath power to, so that things from here now will begin to evolve our political system in this Fourth Republic. That was what happened. There have been amendments in the manifestos and constitutions of various political parties to suit what they feel their program should be and how they feel it should, work for Nigerians. But we have not seen distinct ideological differences in the parties. It is interest that matters. And then some of the manifestos now have been amended to suit what the party intends to carry out. So when you look at where you are and they are not serving your interest, and you feel the other place will serve your interest better and interest of your constituents, nothing prevents you from jumping boat. That's what we say in the parliament, say cross-carpeting. It is in the parliament that the phrase was called cross-carpeting from here to there. So but in the general, you move from your party to come to the other
defection now.
Thank you.
You see, it is quite interesting. As it stands today, your party also has its own internal issues. But let's talk about those who now say that Nigeria is fast becoming a one-party state. And they feel that your party as the culprit in all of this. So how will you react in your capacity as a member of the APC, not on behalf of the party?
See, there is nothing to show that Nigeria is drifting towards a one-party state. What we have is politicians who relish in the arrogance of political deceit. When they lose out of power equation, they begin to say everything that they like, to earn the confidence or the sympathy of the electorates. You ask yourself, this person saying this thing, 10 years ago, where was he? Was he not part and parcel of the system? Was he not part and parcel of the people that bequeathed this system we are in today? What has changed? What has he done differently? It is born out of selfishness and out of loss of political patronage and power that gives rise to what this statement you see that Nigeria is tending toward a one-party state and my party is responsible. No. In Igbo language they said, only that the person carrying pamphlets is the person that the goat follows. I grew up in the village. I believe you grew up in the village too.
Well, I didn't have much of that privilege.
Thank you. When you carry a pamphlet and you're coming from farm, goats, they'll start running after you. Politics, partisan politics will play is about patronage. The party you feel will protect your interests and give you the patronage you need, so you will dispense good governance to your people, to your constituents, is where you will go. It is not one party state. Nigeria is too big to run a one party system. Nigeria is too big. It's not possible.
As it stands today, for example, I mean, we have heard some allegations of your party trying to induce all these other political parties. I am sure you also followed one of the most recent ones where your party was said to have doled out some 50 million to certain chieftains of some political parties. How did you receive that news?
It's propaganda. It's balderdash. See in window. It doesn't hold water. It's just a mere allegation. Somebody says that he will call it a favor of people. It is not true. Absolute balderdash. Absolute innuendo. It doesn't hold water.
A little over a decade ago, ACN as it was merged with a few other political parties, which obviously gave birth to the APC we have today. And now there are insinuations that some other political parties are beginning to shake hands, and all of these geared towards some amalgamation in light of 2027 general election. What are the concerns your party, from what you know as an insider, has in terms of how this might, if you like, shape the outcome of the election in 2027?
The outcome of the election 2027 will be very, very sweet for my party. Yes, it's not going to be a smooth sail or a smooth ride, but we are going to come out victorious. And as we prepare towards 2027, I keep saying it, there is going to be alignment and realignment of forces. Even political parties, among political parties, there's going to be a realignment. People will leave one party A and go to party B. People will leave party B and come to party C. And it will make it sweeter and merrier. My party is prepared for the election, and they are working very hard to make sure that we retain the power by doing what is right and what is legal.
You see, that's the interesting part. You just used the term a while ago that the outcome will be sweet for the party in 2027, but that doesn't seem to be the case now, because up north we have very vocal individuals, even within your party, who are now saying that, well, second term is not guaranteed for President Bola Tinubu, who happens to be the incumbent president. But even at that, I know someone like you and many other chieftains of your party will say, well, that's a call that only Nigerians can make. But you and I can't sit here and pretend that these elements, these personalities don't matter when it comes to how elections are determined, at least in this region of the country.
Now, let me tell you something. I wouldn't want to say this before, but I will say it now. The vocal minority do not determine the outcome of any election, especially the least. On the day of election, most of them do not go to cast their votes. They do not vote. They will sit in the comfort of their homes, dishing out instructions and things like that. And at times, they are bereft of the reality on the ground. They continue to live in the how do I put it? That notion that they call the shot. It is not like that. Let me give you this analysis. What made 2023 election, and what made my party and my president, not to win with, a very wide margin, was the campaign of Muslim, Christian against my president. But the whole scenario has changed. The Christians in Taraba will vote for my president. The Christians in Jos Plateau will vote for my president. The Christians in Borno, Adamawa, Gombe, all of them will vote for my president. In Kaduna, because they are saying that the Muslim ticket did not affect them. Instead, now it gave them more freedom to practice their religion as against what it was, prior to 2023 election. After the election, they have seen the truth. Most of the people that left my party because of the Muslim ticket are back, because they've seen that the policies and programs of Mr. President is geared towards the betterment of Nigeria, is geared towards correcting the wrongs that has been visited on Nigeria over the years, and they are happy for it. So let's watch 2027 as it comes. I am confident. It will not be easy, but we are going to coast to victory. The election dynamics has changed. No matter how they gang up against my party and Mr. President, we are going to win. We are working as well. As they are doing this, we are doing our own. We are mobilizing.
I mean, you look at Nasir El-Rufai, the past governor of Kaduna State for 8 years. You look at someone like Dr. David Babache Lawal, former SGF under Buhari. You look at people like Lukman, former vice chairman, Zono, in your party. You look at Dogara, for example, former Speaker House of Reps. I mean, these are, we never use the word powerful, but they have their own measure of influence in their own areas. Are you saying we should wave them off with the left hand?
Let me call it. Dogara is with us now. If you see that Dogara is supporting the programs and policies of the government that is pro-people, that is pro...
Is that significant to your party?
I'm coming. Dogara will work for us. His Excellency Dogara will work for us. Look at what happened in Kaduna, that was last week. The caliber of politicians that defected to our party. These were people that were alienated from the party, and all these people have followers. They are back to our party. So the things that worked against us in the 2023 election was the Muslim ticket propaganda. The equation has changed. The dynamics have changed. We are going to win our election. Now let me go to the other individuals you mentioned. Babache Lawal, did he win his polling unit? He couldn't win his polling unit. When people come to the television, they will just make it because they have had the opportunity to hold a national position. So people now feel that they are on the ground. Most of those big names are not on the ground. They don't even win their polling units. I am a grassroots person. I am a grassroots mobilizer. And then national coordinator of all Eastern APC, North Progressives. I am a grassroots mobilizer. I know what I'm talking about. Most of those big names do not win election. They don't win their polling units. We will beat them hands down in their polling units and in their local governments. You will see what will happen.
So you're saying if people like El Rufai, who from what we see now, pictures and videos and all of the rhetorics, are beginning to shake hands with opposition elements, including the SDP, for example, were to cross to the other side, whatever that means, it will not bother your party.
No individual is indispensable in any political setting. No individual. Because as you are going, others are coming. And remember, if you are, as you are talking in the case of El Rufai, he has not said he's leaving our party, but if he leaves, so be it. We have a government in Kaduna State, and the governor is doing excellently well. And he has, you see the caliber of people that they come to our party in Kaduna State. Do you mean those who don't have followers? They don't have electoral value? Most of the people that make the most noises on television do not have electoral value. They don't win their polling units, not to talk about their awards. We saw it play out, we have seen it severally, and we saw it play out in the 2023 election. We mobilize, it is the grassroots, the popular, the electorates at the grassroots are the ones that matters. Those are the ones we focus our attention on to make sure we get the votes. And those are the people, government is carrying out these reforms to make sure that it betters the loss of the common man. It is the common man that comes out to vote, not the elites. Elite will only come to television and make noise, instigate confusion so that they will feed fat from the confusion. Poison the hearts of the fellow elites, and many of the rural electorates go to television to watch what they are saying. But we carry the good news, the mobilization, to those at the grassroots, and we win their confidence, and they are seeing, they are enjoying, they are seeing what we are doing, bettering their lots. 27 years is going to be tough. There will be an amalgamation of serious conspiracy. But we are going to dismantle that amalgamation. We are going to win the election. Our work will speak for us. Like lawyers say, res ipsa loquitur.
There are members of your party, I mean those who are still very much in your party, they've not moved. In fact, they've not even shown signs of moving. However, they have consistently for several months expressed their own concerns, some of those concerns very grave and salient, about the state of the economy and overall well-being or welfare of Nigerians and all of that. Do those concerns really, does your party find those concerns palpable?
The economy is doing well now, and there are going to be more improvements as we progress towards 2027. We have said it time and again that change, any drastic change in government or in one's life comes with pain. No change, no positive change comes like that. It must come with pain. And when you endure the pain, you enjoy the gain. There are going to be more improvements as we progress towards 2027. Those that have raised issues now, yes, those issues will be addressed before the election, I assure you.
We're going to take a quick break now, everyone. Quite an interesting conversation about the theory of one party states in Nigeria. I've been speaking with Chief Chibuna Ubawike, who has been taking our time to explain what the dynamics are, particularly from the standpoint of somebody who is an insider. When we return from this break, we'll look at a few other issues, including whether or not Nigeria needs more political parties, and then we'll talk about some governors who some people now say are likely, 7 governors cross over to the APC in light of the 2027 general election. All of that coming shortly at the flip side of this break. Do stay with us. Chief, when you look at Nigeria today, I know, yes, of course, your first interest as far as political parties are concerned is yours, the APC. But if you were to speak as a true Nigerian who's patriotic, given what you know about Nigeria today, would you say this country needs more political parties? Because there's the call now for registration of more parties as we move towards the 2027 election.
Like I said, I am a true Nigerian, a genuinely patriotic Nigerian. That is why I'm a member of APC. That's why I support the government and these policies that I know have direct bearing on Nigeria and Nigerians, that will propel us to, catapult us to economic progress and development. The constitution allows Nigerians to, form political parties. But what we ask, those that are forming the new parties, are they forming it out of genuine patriotism or out of the fact that I want to be known? I am the chairman of this party, this, that. If genuine patriotism, and care and concern for the development and progress of Nigeria is the issue, we have more than enough parties. You can put yourself in one of the parties, because you will not say that all the parties exist. No one has provision that catches your interest
or that aligns with your
conviction. So why not get yourself registered in any of those parties? You can try, if you are a man of political quality and quantity, you can discuss with the leadership of that party. You effect some changes that will accommodate your interest. It is allowed in partisan politics. Instead of forming more parties, that just to promote and propagate selfish and personal interest. I don't support the formation of more parties, but so long as the constitution allows the formation of many political parties, individuals are at liberty, so long as they meet the requirement to form political parties. But to me, it is not born out of genuine patriotism and desire to develop Nigeria or protect the interests of Nigerians.
There are people who believe that your party is working very vehemently to get some sitting governors into its fold. And they say, for whatever reason, that some of these governors will be the governor of Anambra State, Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, and they say another one is His Excellency Sheriff Oborevori of Delta State, for instance. I mean, Delta State is a legacy PDP state, as I will say. Of course, APGA has held sway in Anambra since 1999. If there's any fact or truth in these insinuations, how does your party intend to pull that off? I mean, these are, governors who won elections on the platforms of two different parties.
If the governors find that it is in my party that their interests will be protected, that their policies and programs that will touch the lives of their states will be protected and better implemented, and they want to come to my party, they are welcome. For now, it is still in the realm of propositions, conjectures, and assumptions and allegations until we see it happen. But if they feel in their wisdom that it is in my party, they will be able to dispense good governance to their people. They are welcome.
All right, Chief, I think this is where we're leaving this conversation this morning. I would like to say a big thank you to you for shedding light on these issues. Nigeria continues to evolve, no doubt about that, including the political parties themselves. But one thing we do know for a fact is, until we get it right within the leadership structure of these political parties, especially the frontline ones, including the ruling All Progressives Congress, the APC, it means it's just going to be a long walk to freedom for Nigeria's socio-economic and political development. We'll take a quick break now. When we return, Queen Agaba and I will talk about some one chance related issues and how they are also evolving on that front as well. All of that coming shortly. Stay with us.
Well, many thanks for staying with us on Global Morning. We're just going to look at a few human angle conversations now. There had been a surge in the cases of one chance operators in Abuja, and the stories are quite disheartening, frankly speaking. We don't want to look at the enormous amount of numbers of damages that these operators have caused. People have lost fathers, people have become orphans as a result of these people, the activities of these one chance operators. Young girls, young ladies have been harassed, molested, their property stolen. In fact, a few comes home in terms of people we know whose properties have been taken away. And these people don't just steal from you or take your valuables. They go as far as assaulting the individuals, go as far as stabbing these people. I mean, doing all sorts of inhumane things to these people. And we hear stories that a few of them were caught yesterday in the Lubi axis of Abuja, and then the immediate thing that was done to them was that it was jungle justice for them at that point in time. They were killed. And some people would ask, is that the right thing to do? Why don't we just hand these people over to the police?
Yes. And let the law take its course. And another set of people would say that you don't know how much damages these people have caused to lives, families, the sort of evil that they have perpetrated for long, and it's just best because people are even saying, what would the police do? The most they will do is they will detain them, and their people will come build them up, and then these incidences will continue and to continue to be on your rise. But what's your take in general? You see, first of all, you talked about the surge, all right, in these cases, these very nasty, unpleasant experiences. Just when you think there is a decline, like a sharp decline, that's when, again, you hear that there's a spike and all of that, as crazy as it is. And then what even makes it crazier is that this is happening in the nation's capital, which is Abuja, right? Sometimes around the central area as well. I mean, she alluded to a few colleagues a while ago. Those ones happened around the city center, as it's called, that kind of thing. Now, this immediate instance was something that happened just a few days ago over the weekend. Basically, we're told it was around Lube area where these two persons were caught, and then there was jungle justice and all of that. Now, there has been the conversation around whether or not people can just, as it were, apprehend individuals in the acts as is, and then take the laws into their hands and all of that. It's quite, it's not a straightforward issue. There are fundamentals that must be addressed, first of all right? In my place, they say, if a crocodile ever beats your mom, or you see a lizard, you take cover because you don't want affliction to return a second time. So it's a case of once bitten, twice shy for many people. And then there's also the tendency for vendors that people feel, well, I had this experience here. I mean, we have a colleague, by the way, who had a near-death experience with all of this, and then there's a second one, and then there's a third one. So when you have such instances, the question is, how do you react? All right, we've seen them even on global television news or parade. I mean, we've seen police parade many of them on television, and they confess to the crimes on television. All right, even though some will later go to court and say it was under duress they did that. All right, to say, in fact, one even said he has a shop, I will say two. In fact, two shops, and they even has a cab. All right, so the cab goes out to work. So whatever devices they get, whether tablets, laptops, or phones, they bring to those shops to be sold, minus cash and everything else. Like we also mentioned, these guys are armed, sometimes guns, machetes, knives, and what have you, all right, broken bottles, just to coerce their victims into relinquishing their valuables. So we've seen these people drive their victims across this city just to look for ATM terminal or POS points to collect money from their accounts and things like that. Imagine somebody who has some substantial amount of money entrusted to them, maybe for a group, maybe for an organization, and then they withdraw all of this money from your account. So not only are you going to be praying for your life to survive the attack, you're going to have to grapple with the challenge, the task of reimbursing all of these persons whose monies have been illegally stolen from your account. So the point of all of this is, how do we address all of these issues? Of course, we do know that jungle justice is not the solution to this problem. But what more should the police and other security agencies do to check this? Not just to save lives, not just to prevent people's valuables from being taken illegally, but also to save Nigeria and indeed the FCT, the embarrassment. Because if this happens in some other states, people say, well, these are states that are far away from the city center, I mean, from the nation's capital, and blah, 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 blah. This is exactly in Abuja. Now, this has also highlighted something else. Just yesterday, these things can be very instructive. Somebody said that while we are at it, we also need to be careful to ensure that we're not raising false alarm. And he gave an instance. He said there was a time he joined a vehicle, right? He joined a commercial vehicle. He was coming from work in the evening. So another lady flagged it down a few poles after he had joined. And then the driver said, this is the fare. The lady agreed. But he added a caveat. He said, look, if you know you do not have change, don't join. He said the driver said it 3 times. And then the lady joins. The vehicle gets to a point. She says she wants to get off. The driver pulls over. She gets off the vehicle. And then she hands the driver 1,000. And then the driver drives away out of anger, even though, well, that looks like he wants to take the lady's change away. And then next thing, the lady raises alarm. Thief, 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 thief. And then you know how that can be, especially in an area where you have a lot of people, there's crowd, there's activity, and most of these persons have seen real thieves time and again. So they all just come and swoop on this man and they lynch him to death.
Oh my goodness.
So one of the persons who had been in this taxi, the person sharing this just last night was in that taxi. Now realizes that this man is not a thief. Yes, there was a conflict about change. Do you have change? If you don't have change, don't join, and things like that. But this man is not in any way a thief as far as this issue is concerned. But of course, the man had been lynched. So they had to point that lady who was about to sneak out. They said, this was the lady that raised the alarm. Now some persons who later realized this man was not a thief on account of the evidence from those he had conveyed, lynched the lady to death as well. So the thing we're asking ourselves is, how do you lose 2 lives just because somebody raised a 4? Yes. So we need to find a way to strike some equilibrium, balance in these particular instances. But Abuja and indeed Nigeria must survive all of this criminality.
Yeah, interesting side to this story that we need to also be careful so that we're not raising false alarm and innocent people are not dying as a result of carelessness or what have you. So it's quite sad that people have had to die because of 300 naira change that which the driver clearly put out. If you do not have don't join my vehicle, and then she goes around making false alarms. But the search, because of, I'm sure, but we can never be too sure, because when situations like this, this one chance operators, people are at that point, people are not thinking. Nobody is settling down to say, okay, let me hear you out.
Let's process it.
As long as a person raises an alarm about, these people being one chance operators.
It's a one-way traffic.
It's a one-way traffic. Because of the damages that have been done over time and the hurts that people are nursing from the activities of these one chance operators. Believe me, if you've never had any experience or never had anybody have close to you who have had this experience, you would have no idea what it's like to have been a victim of these people. And so people are straight to doing whatever it is that needs to be done, because again, I think that when we hand over cases like this to the police, we expect to see justice being served. One of the reasons why people will be quick to take jungle justice or lynch such people is because we don't have faith in the police anymore. Time and time again, we've seen hardened criminals who have been apprehended by the police, and in the twinkle of an eye, they are back in the street because somebody somewhere or somehow compromises their needs, and then these people are back to the street. And so if the police will do their due diligence and ensure that whoever is convicted of a particular crime is not taken out of custody, is not, somebody does not come from the behind or back and comes to bail out that person, we want to see that that person is prosecuted for their offenses. I believe that we would have, faith in the police and in our justice system, and people would maybe begin to hand over cases like this to the police. But it's assumed that if you hand over cases, these people will bribe the police. All of them are the same. I've even heard instances where they say, even in the central area here, we have a police checkpoint just beside where major robbery, stealing of people's items and even stabbing people happen.
In the walkway?
Yes. And so in a situation like that, where you have the police beside, and most times people go to report and the police say, you know what, I'm on duty. What's your duty outside protecting the lives and properties of people?
One thing that's called duty now is just flagging down vehicles and actually wearing papers.
Your primary responsibility should be to safeguard the lives of Nigerians. If flagging down vehicles that is not, and then there's a robbery taking place just beside you, a few kilometers from where the checkpoint is. So it's sad. Then how much more, how do you expect me to have faith in such system or in the police where right there where I was robbed, there's a police checkpoint, and you find that I catch, I apprehend a one-chance operator, and you want me to still report them to the same police who were present
and then trust the process.
And so people don't, So I think that police needs to do their the police needs to do their due diligence, and also do not keep a blind eye to some of these things that are happening. These victims could be your sister, could be your daughters, or your wives. So we need to protect the lives and properties of Nigerians. Needs to confess. Our lives need to confess.
Right. There's this PSA, public service announcement that used to air across many television stations a few years ago. There's a line I used to like a lot to say, take care of each other, right? So we have to look out for one another, all right? This is not about whether you're law enforcement or not. It's about the fact that if you see something, say something. And then, of course, you have to realize that security is not one man's thing. I remember one time my wife noticed that she was hearing a strange voice from a neighbor's apartment. This was not even our compound, it was a house away from ours. She had to ask in vernacular, is that you? And the person responded, and then she was clear to say, okay, well, because it was a Sunday and the neighborhood was a bit tranquil and all of that. So those small things can make a difference, right? Yesterday, it was lunchtime, I stepped out of the office and I realized that the guy was kneeling down, somebody grabbed him by his collar. And I inquired to know what the matter was. They said he entered an office within the complex where our office is, and then he was heading out. Somebody noticed from the camera that I saw him pick something and tuck it in his bag, a poly bag. It was kind of like a shopping bag. But he couldn't tell what it was because I don't know what the resolution of the camera was. They had to notify the door guy, that's the front desk guy, who had stepped out briefly for whatever. So the front desk guy shows up and says, did you pick anything? Says, no. What do you have in your bag? Says, they're all my items. He says, so everything inside his bag is your item? Just yesterday at about 12 or so. He says, yes. He says, well, let's see. Opens the bag and realizes that the laptop he had on the desk the whole time had been taken by this guy and tucked into his bag. And guess what? The front desk guy says, the laptop is never mine, but also my younger sister. So I lost my master for it was borrowed. So those small efforts can make a whole lot of difference, whether it's at home or in an organization, right?
And save you a whole lot of costs. Well, I enjoy the conversations right here, and we hope that we all, put in efforts to make those little differences. Say something when you see something, make inquiries, and we should also try to be at our, point of duty. Take for instance the CCTV guy. If he wasn't looking at the camera or looking at the observing, he most likely wouldn't have seen that. And the front desk guy, if he was away as well, he wouldn't have been.
He would have missed it.
Yeah, he would have missed it, and so his detriment. Well, this is where we draw the curtains on Global Morning this morning. It's been an interesting conversation from the newspaper reviews to our topical discussions with our guests. Don't forget to follow us across all social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG and other handles now showing on your screen. Till we come your way again, have a beautiful day ahead. Bye for now.
Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
If you don't say we have several more stories.
The legislature
was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rate as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.